And thank you all of you for joining with us this evening. This is a initiation gathering helping to prepare the space and me for the sharing of our community and our work with a global audience next week. But it's really starting now. This is part of an experience that we're all creating together, and I just feel so grateful that you're here. And we have some very exciting activities planned to activate your own creativity. You'll have low pressure and high pressure moments and challenge you. But I thought I would start with a poem or two. These are from my book, Tea with the Midnight Muse. And this can help get us activated because I'm going to be asking you to write some poetry. Don't worry if you haven't done that before. There's a step-by-step plan. And whenever I need to get inspired and get my mind and my heart and my brain activated, I listen to poetry. I find that it expands the way that your mind works, and my mother's a poet and read me poetry all my life, so it's the way that I start to open up, so we can just open up together. And this is a poem that I wrote for one of our dear sister, Valentina, who is going to be with us, who went through cancer recently and journeyed with us. In the chemo room, she brought her paintings. And so she really just like brought the whole thing into form. We're always talking about, you do this for healing, but she actually brought it with her and then took pictures of everything so we could be a part of it. So she brought it in. So this is for her. So it's called Live from the Honeycomb. What if you surrender trying to be good enough? Or arriving somewhere you think you should be? Or even believing in yourself in a particular prescribed way? Sometimes these goal-minded approaches just lead you back into the same loop you've been trying to untie since childhood. What is needed is not to be good enough, or to finally believe you are ready for whatever it is you think you should already be doing. What is needed is this, just and only this, which is to be who you are. You know that already, whoever she is or he is. To ask yourself in each moment of doubt or failure, how can I be more myself right now? While awaiting a nebulous breakthrough, so we can finally claim to love and believe in ourselves, there's something else, and it's you. To explore who you might be. Maybe you don't even know yet. Maybe you haven't let him or her out. Will you then enter the honeycomb, exploring delicious wonder, the hidden parts of your wild and sweet self? Do you dare to release the wet and wild and wise being just beneath the protective shield you put in place to hide yourself from view? In each of these moments, when you would doubt or criticize yourself previously, what if you stopped and asked, how can I be more who I am right now, in this particular moment? The answer will always be different than if you asked, how can I get this right? Or how can I show up as good enough? Or how can I please others or make it okay? The answer will be different if you ask, how can I be more me in this moment? This is how a life gets to be well-lived and well-loved through the journey of becoming who you are. But you're already that. You just need to remember and be that. And I would add, be in the company of others who encourage that. Be gone silence, be gone shame, be gone hiding. Trying all the time to be good enough or get it right can be so boring after a while. Ho-hum. There's something much more exciting, and it's you as you are. Choose to be free enough to love what you truly love. Savor being alive at this time in this place as you. This is how you open. To live fully, we need to be opened. It's for Valentina.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And that was after a conversation that I had with her where after doing all this work and all this transformation, every training under the sun, and still asking the wrong question, actually, of how can I be good enough or how can I get this right? It's just the wrong question. And the books and the movement and so many teachers are still just getting us to answer that question over and over and over, but it's not actually working because we're still asking the question. And when we start asking a different question, we're going to get a different answer. And if you're asking the same question over and over, consider that there's a different question. Like, how can I be more me instead of how can I get it right? Mm-hmm. It's like a totally different universe. Mm-hmm. And there's so much less apology there when we are inhabiting the environment that's ours to inhabit. So this one is one of my very favorites. It opens the book. And this is called After 1,000 Broken Vows. And I wrote this after a dark night of the soul as a coming back into and a self-forgiveness piece. After 1,000 broken vows, we will rise again, I promise. Surrendering to the mystery of knowing and not knowing, we finally understand we will not do everything we say we will. This confession should feel like a relief. We can transcend getting it right when we finally get it. We won't. We can let ourselves off our own meat hooks when we finally know integrity comes and goes, and perfection is highly overrated. One fine day, in the middle of the night, our truths lined up single file, and they went out on a midnight spree, and then they didn't come home. And we woke up, truthless. Then it is time to begin again. Better that the heart be broken 1,000 times than never open at all. My job is to wipe the fevered brow of our restless creative musings, not demolish the hospitals that house our sicknesses, though I do dream of revolution for breakfast. This is my truth. I have no idea what is going on. I really don't. I only know that we must create and keep on creating no matter what. Before the mending with the red thread, first the breaking open. Vow 1001, I have been waiting for you. Thank you again to the Thomassys for having us. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure.
One of the things that we are working on that we're going to be sharing at the United Nations, which I feel so honored to do, and such a random thing that I could be there. I was contacted by an organization called Women's United Nations Report Network years ago about my poetry and my paintings, and she said, I think you have a larger voice and a larger audience and a bigger message than you could possibly imagine. This was like 9 years ago, and you don't know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you. But, I'm just going to share your poetry every now and then and your images. And her name is Lois Herman, and she reports on the news of women worldwide, sometimes 15 posts a day globally. It's very intense, but they're very short, succinct, like, here's what's happening in Nigeria, here's what's happening in whatever's going on in the world, including good things. But she was so tired of it. It's a report network. United Nations Report Network. And one day she started sending out images and poetry. And she said she was so afraid of what would happen because it was mailed out to thousands and thousands and thousands of the bureaucratic NGO system. And so she was like, what are they going to do? I'm sending out poetry as news, And one day she sent mine out. And then she told me. And then she's done that throughout the years. Maybe 1 or 2 a year when I have, and she says, I read everything you're doing. I'm aware of the Cosmic Cowgirls. I don't know if that's a global brand or not, but I'm paying attention and I see what you have, and I check in your links, making sure you're good. And she said, one day I'll get you to the UN. And then a couple years ago, she said, I finally created this space for you. And so she invited me to share poetry and paintings in tandem with that this creates peace, that this is about healing trauma, that this is about moving beyond the suffering and into the possibility. And so I was so humbled to do that, but I realized that if one woman is doing it, then it's one story. And if many women were included, then we would be demonstrating that intentional creativity actually wasn't just about one person, but about many, many women and the men that they love. And so we showed a slideshow of 42 different women, artists, color of women, teachers, friends, students, leaders, healers of their work. And I was able to speak about how the work worked post-trauma and how healing with image could actually help heal a story, because trauma resides in the body in your field, and in your thoughts, and in your memories. And those are all image-based. And so if we work with image and re-imaging all of those dimensions, then the story gradually begins to move. But no one's moving it for you. It's not an external healer or guide or system. You're actually moving it for yourself through your own imaging process that you are working on. And what's so great about the limitation of the canvas or the paper or the bowl or the beads, whatever medium you're using, we use painting because it's a direct correlation to image, but whatever the medium is, that it's finite, it's matter, and you have this infinite spaciousness of story around you. But because the matter is finite, because you're working on translating something into form, your subconscious is so gentle with you to only arise that which can be translated into form at that particular moment, space and time. And so we keep saying, just keep doing the work, just keep showing up. You're going through this hard space, just keep doing the work. And then you're able to move the spiritual dimension and the matter dimension of your own making without having education, being a good painter, being a healer, having any information at all. You don't even have to know how it works. If you simply will commit it to form, it will begin to move itself and it will occur for you as different. One day it'll be like, wow, that same thought hasn't been plaguing me. That's been plaguing me for 20 years. Because you moved it, and it didn't just kind of move, it actually moved it to a new place in your field, and there was a space that opened up. And inside of this space, then you get to choose what you want to have inside of it. And what I'm talking to you about isn't a new age concept from some spiritual ancient text. It's quantum physics, period. It occurs in the field, it lives in the field. We ask for something to be witnessed, it is witnessed. That's how electrons work, that's how the whole universe works. We are witnessing it, it is witnessing us. So when you have a story that continues to move through you, that you can't move because nothing is moving it, because it feels stuck, and you witness it with form included, not just thought and prayer and meditation, but actual physical form, because we are form, then it begins to move in the field. Only you don't have to do a bunch of stuff about it. It just now is different. And that difference allows trauma to move from the place where it is stored. And we've witnessed this over 20 years, and it's really quite miraculous. And everything that we create and that I talk about is based on witnessing the women that I'm working with. I just put out the story, and then I just witness, and then we say, hey, it looks like that's been working for 5 years. Let's try to teach that to the teachers and see if it works for more people. And it does. And so I feel so honored to be working with that. And so this year, I will be speaking on a panel with the Women News Network, one of my human rights mentors, Lise Anzia, who completely puts up with me from the perspective of me declaring that to create art is as basic of a human right as clean water or shelter. That's my stand, and I'm standing there whether it's popular or not. Because I believe that if the person who has no safe environment can't say, I'm not safe, they don't know where they are. But if they can define, I am not safe in this environment, the first time the traumatized child identifies, this isn't normal, I'm not in a safe space, they come into their beingness in a new way, and they start to notice, this feels safe, this doesn't feel safe. And so when they can be self-expressed through language or image or song, then they can actually begin to express and reach for the sanctity that they want, because they can make a distinction between what's safe and what isn't. But if they can't be self-expressed, they don't know how to talk about it, and there's not a forum for that. So I believe truly that the capacity to express your personal, physical, human experience is just as valid as any other form, and in fact could be life-saving. Because people who have gone through trauma, severe trauma, survivors of the Holocaust who said that their songs and their prayers from their family are literally what saved their life. And this story goes on and on through all different types of trauma and all peoples who have been massacred, because every nation at some time in this time of earth, everybody has gone through massacres and genocide. And the people have survived with story, with song, with culture, as much as they could. And then when they are able to restore themselves in any way, the thing that they first call up is the memory of the songs and the foods and the cultures and the traditions. That's what makes them feel at home, and that's what resonates inside of their DNA, and that's what allows the communities to start gathering over a new way of being again. It's like a return to that place. Those were the creations of the ancestors. And when they sing that song and make that food or whatever the ritual is, there's a reconnection with the ancestors, and then there's a strength because we are inside of a matrix in a field. It is available at all times and all places. It doesn't matter what anyone says because it's actually happening now. And so this paintbrush has been wrapped with red threads. The red thread is part of our tradition that we're creating through the Red Thread Nation. The red thread is present in almost every single major spiritual tradition and country worldwide. It's in Buddhism, it's in Christianity, it's in Islam, it's in the feminine traditions. It's everywhere. And we didn't know it was everywhere until Google, so we could Google and see everyone has a story about it. One of my favorites is the Chinese legend that says that those who are supposed to meet are connected by an invisible red thread since before birth, and that it can stretch or tangle, but it will never break. And so there's a sense you have, even arriving in this room, that you've been leading up to this moment. And there are big meetings, and then there are smaller meetings, but who knows, this might be a big meeting for you. We don't know. We have these moments that we're always leading up to, where the encounters and experiences where something changes and it's not ever the same again after that. Those are those red thread connect moments where you're like, oh, I finally made it to the space where I'm supposed to be having this conversation. And so this brush has been wrapped with red threads tied with little bows because we're going to have over 100 people in the space for our gathering. And we don't have time to pass the scissors and do the traditional, just like we're not doing the traditional tonight. And so each person will be able to untie their piece once everyone's holding on to it. I feel so blessed to be able to do the ceremony there. And the context is around serving the server, recharging our work as global advocates. The theme is around serving those who serve. After 2 years of going, I looked and felt like there was all these people coming from all over the world who paid for their own way to get there, who are completely devoted, who are completely serving, and yet there was not one event that occurred for me as a place where they might go and sit and talk and be served by other teachers. And so this is we got it passed. This is our serving the servers. And so the red thread will be the closing ceremony, and I will be presenting it as a way to work with your client base as well as inside of your organization. It's not a women's thing, it's an everybody's thing. It's the bloodline. So I wanted to pass this around to each of you, and this will be what's passed. And so I wanted you to be a part of that because we're all part of creating this together. So thank you for being here and helping initiate this experience.